All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Saad Amir. I work in MSD's Public Affairs Division, and I'll be helping facilitate the conversation tonight with the project team, who you'll get introduced to in just a second. Thanks for joining us for the Florissant Dunn Sanitary Relief, St. Anthony Lane to I-270 project, wastewater project. A couple of things I want to point out on this title screen before we get started. The project number 12178. Please make note of that if you would. That is the easiest way to get answers about your specific questions. That's how we categorize the different projects. And then, of course, at the bottom is the project webpage located at msdprojectclear.org/12178, where you'll find more information about the project. And after the meeting is over, we'll be also posting the recording of this town hall on there as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so to kind of give you a roadmap of how today's going to go, first we'll begin with a technology overview just to make sure everybody's on the same way of how to engage with us on this virtual platform. And then I'll go over a quick overview of MSD, who we are, what we do, just so we're on the same page with that. And then I'll pass it over to the project team to talk about project specifics, details, and then go over some questions at the end. To begin with the virtual town hall platform technology. So obviously we're on Zoom and you're in what's called listen and view mode. And what that means is you can hear us and see us, but we can't hear or see you. There are different ways to engage with us. And the one main way that I want to discuss is the Q&A button. So if you wiggle your mouse or tap on your screen, if you're on a smartphone, tablet, or a computer, you'll see a menu bar appear at the bottom of your screen, and one of those buttons has a Q&A on it. If you tap on that Q&A button, you'll see another box appear where you can type in questions. Now, I mentioned that we will be having a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, but you don't have to wait until the end of the presentation to ask your question. At any point throughout the presentation, go ahead and hit that Q&A box, and we will be receiving your questions. So everyone can see everyone else's questions. So if you want to see a question also answered, you'll see a thumbs up button underneath the question, and you can hit that, and that lets us prioritize questions during the Q&A. A couple of ground rules on those questions. So we're here to talk about the Florissant Dunn project. So any questions that don't necessarily have to do with that project, about one of our other services like billing or something like that, we won't be addressing those live during the Q&A, but if you do have those questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A box. We'll chat you privately. My colleague from Public Affairs, Bess McCoy, is helping on the back end, and she will let you know that we have your contact information, and we'll forward that off to the correct department. Similarly, just in the interest of everyone's time, we won't be addressing specific property questions live as well, just in the interest of everyone's time. But we do want to hear those questions from you. So similarly, just go ahead and type those questions into the Q&A box. Bess will chat you and let you know we've got your question, your contact info, and someone from the project team will be following up with you. Moving on to the overview of MSD. And don't worry, I'm not going to read all of this. A couple of things that I want to point out on here is, one, MSD is a government utility. We are not a private corporation. We're a provision of the state constitution, governed by a 6-member board of trustees, 3 of which are appointed by the mayor of the city of St. Louis and 3 by the county executive. A lot of people don't realize this, but MSD is 2 utilities in one, wastewater and stormwater. I'll get into that in just a second. And just a couple of different facts and figures about how big the district actually is. And all of that really just means that we're actually the 4th largest sewer system in the country, and that really drives a lot of the cost of our programs. So focusing back on that 2 utilities in one graphic on the bottom. So MSD is 2 utilities in one. Wastewater is the water that comes down from your dishwashers, toilets, sinks, conveyed into your lateral to our MSD main into one of our 7 treatment plants where it is treated and released back into the environment. There's also stormwater, which is precipitation that hits the ground and makes it into one of our inlets. And those are 2 separate utilities. The reason why I want to point that out is because those are, because of EPA regulations, funding for those are completely separate, and wastewater funds can't be used on stormwater problems, and stormwater funds can't be used on wastewater problems. The reason why I point that out is because the project we're here to talk about tonight is on the wastewater side. You might be hearing that called the sanitary tonight, but that's the wastewater system, and we're not talking about the stormwater system specifically. So that's it for the general overview. At this point, I'll go ahead and let the project team introduce themselves, starting off with Jared. Jared, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, I'm Jared Barr, project manager with the district. I'm a civil engineer, and this is my contact information. I manage the project for the district side, and then we have our outside consultant and other MSD engineers as well. And I'll go ahead and allow Dave Hasty to introduce himself and the others in the team.
Good evening. I'm Dave Hasty, civil engineer with Wood. I'm the lead on the consultant side. And go ahead, Mariah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mariah Manus, and I'm a project engineer here at MSD. And I'm going to be assisting in this presentation. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So just to give you a project overview, this project originated due to complaints in the neighborhood. So we sent our MSD planning group out there to evaluate and study the area. And they came back with 3 main problems identified. The first one you'll see there, leaky pipes are allowing the groundwater to get into the wastewater pipes. The second one, wastewater pipes are too small to carry all of this extra flow. And then the third problem is wastewater pipes are then overflowing and backing up into basements. Next slide, please. So the goal of our project is we want to increase the system capacity to a 10-year level of service. And this just means we want to increase the size of the pipes, so then we increase the capacity, so then it can carry all of this flow. The benefits by doing this are we reduce the basement backups and we reduce the wastewater overflows. And if you don't know, a wastewater overflow is a point in the system where untreated wastewater gets into creeks, streams, and waterways. And by doing this, we will benefit about 2,185 properties. Next slide. So the scope of our project is going to be to construct 6,000 new feet or 6,000 feet of new wastewater pipe. And let's go ahead and move to the next slide so we can see what that looks like. So here's a map of the project area. And just to get yourself oriented, the white portion on the left side of the map, that's 270. And the red lines you'll see there, that is the 6,000 feet of pipe that we're going to be working with. So flow in the pipe starts at the upstream end by 270, and it flows down the red line there to West St. Anthony Lane, or just right about West St. Anthony Lane. And so we're actually going to construct this in the opposite direction. So construction will start around West St. Anthony Lane and move towards 270. So looking at your screen, following the red line, it'll go from right to left. When we get to 270, we're going to use the construction method called tunneling. And we have coordinated and worked with MoDOT in their ongoing 270 project about this tunneling method. And so now I'm going to pass it over to project manager Dave Hasty, and he's going to go in more detail about what tunneling means and other construction methods and project specifics. Dave?
Thank you. As Mary mentioned, the section of pipe under I-270 and Dunn Road will be tunneled. The contractor will dig a pit on either side of I-270 and tunnel between without cutting down from the surface down, so not to disrupt traffic on I-270. And also, I think Mariah mentioned that we've coordinated this with MoDOT regarding their ongoing highway construction project. So from that point on down to the north end will be open cut construction, where the contractor will excavate a trench and install the pipe in the trench and then backfill it. There's a significant length of the project will be constructed in South New Florissant Road, which is it's a very busy road. In this area, there's 2 northbound lanes, 2 southbound lanes, and a center turn lane. The new pipe for the length of South New Florissant Road will be constructed in the right northbound lane, the lane closest to the sidewalk. Next slide, please. So most of the project will be constructed in public street right-of-way. However, there will be a need for six new easements on private property. Permanent easements give MSD the right to construct and maintain sewers. These easements include working room alongside the 10-foot strip for staging and construction. Temporary construction easements give MSD the right to excavate and remove trees, but no permanent improvements are left behind in the temporary construction easements. And the temporary construction easements expire after construction is complete and just left with a 10-foot permanent easement. If an easement is needed on your property, an MSD right-of-way agent will be making contact with you. Next slide, please. With open cut construction, you can expect some temporary traffic disruption. Trucks and construction workers, a lot of things will be busy during the day. The contractor will bring in equipment and construction material before they start installing sewer. They'll stage that along the sewer alignment, and it'll be there as they install the sewer on down the line. There'll be equipment such as excavators, track excavators, and bobcats, and that'll remain on the project for the duration. Where the sewer is being installed, that's where all the action will be. The equipment, the people, for the most part, will be, and that will move from the lower end at the north to the upper end at the south. There will be lane closures on South New Florissant Road, but at least one northbound lane will remain open at all times. There's a little bit of work in St. Anthony in Elm, that's toward the north end. And those streets, there may be times when that street is completely closed, but there are alternate routes to access South New Florissant Road. But they should remain open for the most part. At least during construction, at least one lane should remain open, but there may be times when there's sections of it that are near the center of the street that may cause the street to be completely closed, but traffic will be routed around. So it's like, especially on South New Florissant Road, there's a lot of driveways come out onto the street there. So as sewer construction passes by your driveway, these driveways will be inaccessible, but shouldn't last for more than a day. And you will receive advance notice that this will occur. This is going to be happening, and you can plan around it. So it doesn't usually create a problem. Next slide, please. See, these three photos show before, during, and after. You can see a fire hydrant, same fire hydrant in all three photos. And as you can see, the pavement will be restored to pre-project conditions or better, and lawn areas will be regraded and sodded. Next slide, please. Prior to start of construction, MSD will organize a neighborhood meeting with the contractor and property owners. Probably be similar to this meeting that we're having right now. The contractor will notify you at least 7 days prior to construction on your property. Pipe installation should advance about 50 to 100 feet a day. After the pipe is in the ground and backfilled, the contractor will restore the project in sections. So the pavement and the sodding will not necessarily happen immediately after the pipe's in the ground. The restoration is somewhat dependent on the weather and the time of the year. Sodding doesn't normally occur in the hot part of the summer, and installation of asphalt pavement can't happen in very cold weather. So there'll be maybe some delays there with the restoration. Next slide, please. The MSD inspector travels between several construction sites, and they would typically visit each site a couple times each day. The inspector will be on site at least once every day, if not twice. If you have a problem, you should contact the inspector and not the contractor. Property owners may make special agreements with the contractor for construction work on their private property. If you make a special agreement with the contractor, you should get it in writing and provide a copy of that to the inspector. with the, if they have the agreement in writing, MSD can assist if the contractor doesn't honor his commitment. Next slide, please. With regard to schedule, design will be complete this fall, late summer, early fall. Easement acquisition will be complete the summer of 2022. And construction will start early 2023 and last approximately 24 months. Next slide. That's it. So with that, I will turn it back over to Saad to field questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for all that info, and thank you, Mariah, as well. So we are now at the end of the presentation portion. We're now moving into the question portion. So before we get started on the facts, some of the questions that have been submitted to us already. If you don't remember how to do it, how to ask a question, just make sure you wiggle your mouse or tap on your screen and hit the Q&A button. So I will pose these questions while we wait for some questions to come in. So Jared, Dave, if you guys wouldn't mind taking this one. Actually, this first one I can answer pretty well. Will construction be on my property? So we did show that map that includes the addresses of the areas that will be affected by the construction work. If you do have a specific question about your property, feel free to reach out to the contact information that's going to be on the next slide to see how construction will affect your property specifically. Second one, Dave, how will vegetation, fences, invisible dog fences like mailboxes within the construction limits, how will those be affected?
Could find my mute button. Those will be removed for construction and then replaced. And if usually the items are replaced, the items that were removed are replaced, but sometimes fences, it's faster and easier to replace the fences with new material. The sod, the vegetation, the lawn areas will be revegetated with new sod.
Perfect, thank you very much. And like you said, with that restoration, especially with the sod, that's really weather dependent. All right, thank you for that information. Okay, so now we're opening it up for questions. As a reminder, the Q&A button, if you guys have those questions, please submit them through there. This is the contact information for Jared and Dave. If you have any questions about how this will affect your property specifically, or any other questions as well. As I mentioned before, a recording of this presentation, including the presentation slides, will be posted on msdprojectclear.org/12178. That's the project number for this project. And there you'll find more information as well, and also easy ways, more contact information, things like that. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds to see if we get any questions coming in. All right, I am not seeing any questions coming in. Of course, if you do come up with a question afterwards, feel free to reach out. We hope you have a great rest of your night. If you have any other additional questions, please make sure to reach out to using any of the contact information you see on the screen. Oh, I do see one from Keith. Sure. Okay. Can you speak to the work on Elm? Dave, it might be easier if I go back to the map as well. Dave, whenever you're ready, if you want to take that one.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you have the drawings up there. See, go to, I'm just looking at this on the, do you have the whole set or just the cover sheet? Sorry about that. That was the drawings that I opened. I thought you had opened them, Sod.
Oh, no.
See.
Dave, would you like me to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in Elm? This is Mike Smith.
Sure. I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah, Mike, if you want to take that, please go ahead.
All right. The line in Elm is being replaced with a new 15-inch pipe that's going back pretty much parallel to the existing pipe on the east side of the street. So the intent is that we'll put the pipe on the east lane of traffic. I realize that's a new pavement there. I really hate tearing it up, but we'll probably end up taking out the slabs on that side of the street. And that goes from West St. Anthony up to the intersection of Maple Drive. So it would be that one block area. And the sewer laterals on that street will be connected to this new larger line. It's a little larger and deeper than the one that's there now. And the existing line will be grouted and filled with concrete.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and that's actually the other thing that Keith said. That's the reason why he was asking if the street was just redone, and he just wanted to point that out as well. Make sure it
I cringed when I saw it, but
yeah, I bet.
And
there
we-
wasn't any other way to get that line better hydraulics to reduce the basement backups.
Sure. Keith also asked, and Mike, Dave, whichever one can answer this one, will this new work, and Jared, maybe this might be for you, will this new work fix the issue of basement flooding on Maple and Elm? Dave, Mike, or Jared?
The modeling that we have show that the modeled flows for the 10-year storm will be contained within the new pipe. So in theory, that should reduce the basement backups.
Right, and I'll just add to that that was the intent of extending up to Elm is we had some indication from our modeling analysis that particular reach needed additional improvement beyond just replacing that in new Florissant. So the intent there is to provide that 10-year level service. Certainly, there is a limitation to the 10-year level of service, and that there may still be basement flooding that would occur at some extreme rainfall. What that exact level is not something that we've determined, but we do anticipate that for the 10-year level service, which is the current design standard for all new district facilities, will be provided on Elm there. And then just to reiterate, the street that's concrete will have full concrete slabs replaced with new. And if it's asphalt, then there would be a trench. But I think Elm, if I recall, was concrete street. And yes, this project is budgeted for our I think it's our fiscal year 23, if I'm not mistaken. And so we do have a funding path that is firm and committed for this project.
Thank you for answering that second one as well. And thanks, Keith, for all the questions. Appreciate those.
One last thing, just perhaps to help give a more comfort here. We're replacing a 10-inch pipe in diameter in Elm with a 15-inch pipe in diameter. It'll be slightly deeper as it goes downstream, and it'll be connecting into a new 24-inch line in New South Florissant Road, which will be about 2 feet deeper than the existing pipes that are in New South Florissant now, which are a 10 and a 15-inch, I believe.
Increasing pipe size there. You say 15-inch under Elm, is that what you said?
And the new one will be 15-inch. The existing one is 10. So that's quite a difference in capacity there.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. And Keith just wanted to say thank you. All right, I think that might be it for the questions. Of course, again, if you have any additional ones, let me just run back to the last page. All the contact information is on there. Of course, it's also found on msdprojectclear.org/12178. So if there's nothing else, and I don't think that there is, we will go, oh, one more. Okay, one from Doug. Yes, Doug, I do see your question on there about your specific property. I believe Jared has reached out to you via email. We'll make sure to follow up with you about that specific property question as well. Thanks, Doug. All right, with that, thank you so much for your time. We hope you got some of your questions answered. Of course, again, if not, please make sure to reach out to any of the contact information you see on the screen. Thanks for your time. We hope you have a great rest of your night.